Are saying that Alianna Defreeze was last seen getting off of a bus near 93rd and Kinsman Thursday morning, but since then, no signs of her.
Warning: some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. In this case, we will be traveling to Cleveland, Ohio, taking a look at what happened to Alianna Defreeze, who was only 14 years old when she was kidnapped as she was heading to school. Alianna was described as a loving teen. She always loved to spend time with her father. They had a very strong bond since she was born. Her father and mother weren't together, but that didn't stop them from having a healthy relationship and caring for Alianna. Her parents agreed that her father, Damon, would have her on the weekends, and when he couldn't pick up his daughter, his wife, Tonya, would pick her up from school. She was considered Alianna's stepmother, and she had been in her life since Alianna was 3 years old. January 22nd was a Sunday, and when nighttime came around, Tonya drove Alianna to her mother's house like she normally would. 4 days later, her mother became concerned when Alianna didn't return home from school, so she decided to call the father and stepmother, and when speaking to Tonya, Donnesha asked did anyone pick up Alianna from school. Tonya answered no and that they hadn't spoken since she dropped her off on Sunday. Donnesha hung up and called 911. This is what she told dispatch.
The 911 dispatcher below, they didn't please fire ambulance. I just want to report a missing child. How old is the child? 14. And what does the child say? Alianna Defreeze. I put her on the RTA this morning. I put her on the bus to school. And she never checked in from school. Did she never made it to school this morning at all? No. Has she ever done this before? No.
Alianna was reported as a missing person, and an investigation began. Detectives started by calling her school to build a profile on the type of student she was. Maybe she was cutting school to hang with some friends. They quickly found out that Alianna was a great student who loved going to school. She had great grades, and it was rare for her to be absent. The principal of the school told detectives that she never arrived to school that day. Damon and Tonya had a terrible feeling that something bad had happened to Alianna. She would always go to school even if she was sick. Detectives had several officers driving around looking for her. With no luck, officers stopped the search around 7 p.m. 12 hours passed since she was announced as a missing person, and it was completely dark outside. The detective tried tracing her phone but got no luck. They also checked her social media to see if she was at a friend's house, but her phone was dead. Donnesha told the detective the last time she saw her daughter was when she dropped her off at the RTA bus and Alianna got on it. Alianna would always take the bus to school. She would typically take 2 buses. 24 hours since she was last seen, and detectives' only lead was the RTA bus she took that morning.
Are saying that Alianna Defreeze was last seen getting off of a bus near 93rd and Kinsman Thursday morning, but since then, no signs of her.
Looking over the footage from that morning, Alianna was spotted getting on as her mother said. It was 6:30 in the morning. Looking at her body language, she seemed relaxed. At 6:46, the bus stopped, and a teen male got on the bus and started talking to Alianna. She still seemed relaxed as she spoke to him. After a few seconds, they took a seat, and they can be seen having small talk. At 6:50, she can be seen at the front of the bus as the bus stopped. She got off and walked across the street to wait for her second bus. As she was walking, a man with a white coat could be seen walking behind her. When the second bus arrived, she was spotted getting on. The guy with the white coat was no longer there, so he wasn't a suspect. Normally, the bus would drop her off in front of the school, but on this day, she got off 2 stops early. It was close to 7 a.m. and Alianna had to walk the remaining blocks. Detectives thought maybe she was meeting up with a friend, but when speaking to Alianna's friends, they told the detectives they had no idea why she would get off early. They always met in the school lunchroom. The detectives was also able to find out who the boy in the footage was. He was another student from a different school. It was normal for him and Alianna to see each other in the mornings. It was 3 days since she was seen when 2 officers that were helping with the case were searching through the neighborhood when they stumbled across 3 abandoned buildings. The officers cleared 2 houses, but when they entered the 3rd building, there was a trail of blood. As they followed the trail, it led them to a tragic scene. They walked into an empty room with a body that was beaten senselessly. Officers couldn't identify the body. That's how bad it was. There was DNA everywhere, so it would take time to receive results from everything. Officers spotted tools covered with blood. They found a box knife, a hammer, and a drill. All were covered in blood. With no way to discover who they had just found, an autopsy took place, and the dental record returned and identified the victim as 14-year-old Alianna Defreeze. She had been missing for 3 days, and now she was confirmed to be a bloody victim. It was truly tragic how she was found. Near the abandoned building, signs were posted saying be aware of cameras, so maybe whoever did this was captured on footage. As officers checked the surrounding area, they found a church with exterior cameras that was facing the abandoned building and the direction of her school. Looking over the footage at 6:53 a.m., which would have been when she got off the second bus, there was no sight of her till 7:13, when she can be spotted walking slowly in the direction of her school. As she approached the corner, you can see a male figure stop her, and she can be seen taking a step back like whatever he said startled her. After that, she walked out of the frame. When looking from another angle behind the church in the parking lot, Alianna can be spotted on the top right of the frame. After being startled, she walked across the street, away from the man. As she crossed, so did he. The strange man proceeded to follow Alianna. As they touch the other side, you can see the male figure push on Alianna's back like he is guiding her to walk. The direction they started walking was away from her school and toward the abandoned building where she was found, so the detectives knew they were looking at Alianna's final moments. Detectives wanted to know who the male was, so they looked over the footage leading up to 7 a.m. He was spotted for the first time walking up the street at 5 a.m. Moments later, he can be seen walking down the street, minutes before Alianna would be seen interacting with this strange male. It was noted he was walking up and down the same block for over 2 hours, which was strange. Why was he walking the same block from 5 a.m. all the way to 7 a.m.? It was like he was searching for a victim. He was 2 blocks away from a school, so maybe he was waiting for an innocent student to walk by, and Alianna just happened to walk into this sick man. Officers released the surveillance of their suspect, and several women came forward claiming that the same person was harassing them days before. With all the tips they received, detectives could identify the suspect as Christopher Whitaker. Christopher was known to officers since he was a registered sex offender. In 2005, Christopher was arrested for sexually assaulting a woman. He also stabbed her in the neck. Christopher only received 4 years for that crime. How someone can get away with a sexual act and stabbing confuses me. Comparing the DNA from the crime scene to Christopher, it was a perfect match. All the tools used in the crime had his DNA. Detectives got a search warrant for Christopher, and the U.S. Marshals went out looking for this sick killer. The first thing the Marshals did was check the address listed on file. When they got there, the Marshals wasted no time. They broke down his door, and Christopher was in the back bedroom as they approached him. He looked very confused when they told him he was being arrested for the murder of Alianna. Christopher completely denied being there, but the Marshals didn't care to hear his story. They took him down to chat with the detectives, who also wasted no time confronting him with the footage and the DNA evidence. Once he was confronted with the DNA, he changed his mood and admitted to being in the abandoned building, but he claimed he never touched Alianna. He changed his story several times, initially denying any involvement in the murder, and then going on to admit his involvement, but still denying responsibility by blaming his actions on crack cocaine use. Whitaker said that he had blacked out after punching Alianna, and that he would not have committed the crime if he were sober. He stated, "People are going to look at me like a monster. I'm not a monster," he told investigators, adding that he was just an addict who made a mistake that shouldn't have happened. Whitaker also told investigators that he did not want his face in the news. Christopher was charged with aggravated burglary, kidnapping, rape, aggravated murder, tampering with evidence, and abuse of a corpse. The trial began on February 1, 2018. Whitaker's defense attorneys acknowledged his crimes but said that his drug use made him less able to control his impulses and follow the law. Prosecutors disagreed, saying the evidence does not point to a drug-induced frenzy. It does not point to a blackout. It shows he knew what he was doing. On February 13, 2018, Whitaker was found guilty of 10 counts. Alianna's mother told the court that death is too good for him, and I won't believe he has any remorse until he suffers like my daughter suffered. Her father told Whitaker, "When you get where you're going to get what you got coming. My baby didn't have a chance." Also, the lady Whitaker had attacked in 2005 supported his death sentence. Along with his death sentence, Whitaker was sentenced to 48 years in prison for aggravated burglary, felonious assault, rape, obstruction of justice, and gross abuse of a corpse. On August 22, 2022, the Ohio Supreme Court rejected Whitaker's appeal and upheld his death sentence. His execution is scheduled to take place in July 2026. Whitaker is currently imprisoned on death row at the Chillicothe Correctional Institution in Chillicothe, Ohio.